You clicked because you heard Russia is smuggling parts for its war machine through civilian cargo planes. That is exactly what is happening. The stakes are that every commercial flight landing in a friendly airport could be carrying the components needed to build the next generation of missiles. By the end of this, you will understand the specific gray market network that turns global logistics into a covert supply chain for the defense industry. The story begins with a fundamental shift in how sanctions are enforced. For decades, the assumption was that military hardware moved on military planes or through known state-owned carriers. That model broke down years ago. The reality is far more insidious because the sanctions themselves created a vacuum. When Western nations blocked direct trade, they did not stop the demand for advanced chips, navigation systems, and specialized sensors. They only stopped the official channels. In the world of international trade, demand is a powerful force. When you eliminate the legal supply routes, the market does not disappear. It goes underground. Here is the thing that changes everything. The infrastructure for this shadow trade already exists. It is not built by spies in dark rooms. It is built by the global civil aviation industry itself. Every major airline, every cargo operator, and every freight forwarder runs on a system designed to move goods efficiently. That system is now being repurposed. The dual-use nature of modern technology means that the same components used in consumer electronics, smartphones, and commercial drones are essential for military guidance systems and unmanned aerial vehicles. Because these parts look identical on a manifest, distinguishing between a shipment of laptop processors for a civilian market and the same processors for a missile guidance unit is nearly impossible without deep forensic analysis. This has given rise to what analysts call a gray market. It is not a black market where goods are hidden in suitcases. It is a sophisticated network of legitimate flights that have been redirected or mislabeled. A plane might take off from a major hub in Europe with a manifest listing civilian goods. It lands in a neutral third country where the cargo is transshipped. It might change hands several times, moving through smaller airports with less rigorous oversight. By the time the goods reach their final destination, the trail of custody has been obscured. The original manifest no longer tells the true story of where the cargo originated or where it is going. Quick resource note, I keep a curated set of Amazon search links in the description for books, gear, and tools relevant to this channel's topics. Some are affiliate links, so I may earn a commission at no extra cost to you. Please consider supporting the channel by using those links if you find something useful. Now consider the role of open-source intelligence in exposing this. For years, tracking these flights was the domain of government intelligence agencies. They had the resources to monitor flight paths and cross-reference them with known military requirements. But the landscape has changed. Today, a global community of researchers and data analysts uses public flight data to track these movements. They look for patterns that the human eye would miss. They notice when a specific cargo airline suddenly increases flights to a region known for defense manufacturing. They notice when a flight path deviates from its standard route without a clear weather explanation. This shift from state-level intelligence to crowdsourced analysis is a critical development. It means that the very tools used to track civilian logistics are now being weaponized to expose military supply chains. The data is out there in public databases. Anyone with the right software can query flight histories, cross-reference them with customs declarations, and look for anomalies. The problem is not a lack of data. The problem is the sheer volume of it. A single day in global aviation generates millions of data points. Finding the needle in the haystack requires automated systems and a deep understanding of how these networks operate. The vulnerability lies in the fact that the system is designed for speed and efficiency, not security. Commercial logistics networks prioritize getting goods from point A to point B as quickly as possible. They rely on trust in the shipping manifests. They do not typically inspect every box on a cargo plane. This efficiency is what makes the system so susceptible to exploitation. When a criminal or state actor wants to move sanctioned goods, they do not need to build a new network. They just need to corrupt the existing one. They can use shell companies, fake invoices, and complex ownership structures to disguise the true nature of the cargo. There is a specific pattern that emerges when you look at the data over time. You see a correlation between the timing of sanctions and the sudden appearance of new flight routes. You see an increase in the use of intermediate hubs in countries that are not part of the sanctions regime. These hubs act as filters, breaking up the supply chain so that no single leg of the journey reveals the full picture. A flight might go from a sanctioned country to a neutral hub, then to a third country, and finally to the destination. Each leg looks legitimate on its own, but the aggregate data tells a different story. The implications for future enforcement are profound. Traditional sanctions rely on the assumption that you can cut off the flow of goods. But if the flow is disguised as civilian trade, that assumption fails. The only way to stop it is to change the way we monitor trade. We need to move from reactive measures to proactive detection. This means using the same open-source tools that are already being used by researchers to build automated systems that can flag suspicious patterns in real time. It means integrating flight data with customs data and financial transaction records to create a holistic view of the supply chain. The ultimate insight here is that the boundary between civilian and military logistics has effectively vanished. The same planes, the same airports, and the same shipping companies are used for both. The distinction is no longer in the hardware or the infrastructure. It is in the intent and the documentation. And because the documentation can be forged, the only way to enforce sanctions is to verify the intent through data analysis. This creates a new arms race in the realm of logistics. States are trying to hide their movements, while the international community is trying to expose them using the very tools that made the hiding possible. This dynamic will define the next phase of the conflict. As long as the demand for dual-use components remains high, the gray market will persist. The only way to close it is to make the cost of using the gray market higher than the benefit. That requires a level of transparency and coordination that has not yet been achieved. Until then, the civilian aviation network will remain the primary artery for the defense industry, flowing quietly beneath the radar of traditional oversight. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I am a one-person team working hard to make each video better than the last. Subscribe if you found value. It is the best way to show support. Drop a comment with your biggest takeaway. See you in the next video.